The other day, I saw a post saying that you shouldn't make decisions when you're sad. Like, don't go to bed angry. One of those aphorisms, truisms. And it stuck with me. It stuck with me. This idea that you're not supposed to make decisions when you're emotional. It's hard for me to imagine a time when I'm not emotional in some way or another, right? We're very squishy, soft, chemically active creatures. I'm either happy or sad or bored or horny or angry or frustrated or exhausted. There's always some emotional state. So the idea that we're not supposed to make decisions angry or sad, that, oh, well, you'll just regret it later. It's curious. And the wisdom of it is that it points to our lack of rationality or sobriety of thought in certain headspaces. But, I'd say we kind of lack that rationality of thought in just about every headspace that we have. That we always have some kind of blind sight, something that we're overlooking, some consequence, some emotional resonance that we're forgetting about or overlooking or putting aside for a moment. But still, don't make decisions when you're sad stuck with me, because I have, for the last month, been looking for a new job. I was let go from my previous position because I quit caring and made a mistake that was very visible for the company that I was contracted under, and they needed to make a visible, quick demonstration that something was changing. And the easiest way to do that, and I talked with the managers and I suggested it, is that they fire me, because that way they don't actually have to change anything institutionally, because at the end of the day, the point of failure was I didn't care about the job. I didn't really want to be there. It was the last day of the week, and I was just kind of checked out. And there's no way to untrain that or retrain that or set up a policy. Actually, there's plenty of ways to set up policies to make sure that shit doesn't happen. More overlapping responsibilities, shorter work schedule, more people available to fill in for people when they are, not really checked in. There's a lot of a lot of ways to prevent the what had happened, and nothing like really exciting happened. Like, I was working as a concierge overnights because it was easy and in the neighborhood, and it paid really well. And essentially, it was a Saturday night. Drunk people coming in and out all the time. It's a very high-end building, so there's a lot of rich people throwing parties. I kid you not, at 3 a.m. I would regularly have like groups of 20 or 30 people show up and just be like, oh, we're going up, and not really know who they're for. And by the book, the resident needs to come down or call, but there's rules as written, and then there's how things actually function, and regularly these are not the same thing, right? So the expectation is that I would do X, Y, or Z, even though there was some plausible deniability cooked into what the policy as written actually said to do. So I let somebody up who wasn't actually a resident but was good at acting drunk or being hard to understand, so I thought it was just a drunk resident, and they had this kind of hoity upper class, I don't want to deal with the help kind of air about them when they were talking to me, so they fit the bill really well. I worked at the largest condominium in the west coast of the United States. It is literally 2 blocks long. 15? No, sorry, like 30 stories high. No, more than that. 40? 41? Something like that. And I would work half the week on one half of it, half the week on the other half of it. And I'd work there for a couple of months. So I didn't know all the residents. Knowing all the residents and their guests was literally impossible in my position. There were thousands of people. So like the oversight makes sense, and I corrected it. I spent like the next hour or two tracking down this person, making sure they left the building. They didn't hurt anyone, they didn't break into anything. A couple of people were confused or upset at how they got in, and it was a very visible entrance because they went knocking on doors asking for cash and panhandling, and this was like at 1 a.m, midnight, something like that. So it was very, very noticeable. But like, whatever, nothing got broke, no one got hurt. But because it was a very visible point of failure in security, and rich people really pay for a sense of separation from the world more than they're actually paying for anything else. They're paying for that illusion of being a cut above, being part of a different society, having that sense of false security. And it really is false security. Because at the end of the day, that made the guy so hard to track down is fire code. A lot of stairwells in these big buildings might require a key card to get into from the ground floor, but that's the only place that they'll require a key. It's against fire code to have locks on various floors or have downward movement in a stairwell or upward movement in a stairwell after entering the stairwell obfuscated. Obscured? No. I can't remember the word right now, but point being, it's a huge security flaw, but one that they can adjust and can address. I there are bigger security problems with where it was working, like some of the doors didn't actually lock properly. There's so many blind spots in the perimeter and around the perimeter. They're so short staffed that even there's occasional overlap between people on desk and security staff and cleaning staff and et cetera, et cetera. There's still times where entrances are unmonitored, and that's just the reality of the situation. They would need to be spending twice as much on staffing to make sure that every entrance is always monitored, every person entering is always verified, and they're not doing that because they don't really care. The homeowners association that owns the building don't really care. What they care about is maintaining the appearance and the affectation of it, so long as it has vaguely the same effect and there's only a couple of incidents. But there weren't a couple of incidents. I mean, in the time that I had been there, which again was 2 months, there were, oh god, at least 1 or 2 noteworthy security incidents a week. And this is a very high security building. So I didn't want to stay there, and I brought up the idea of letting me go and said that they didn't really have much of an option, and workshop some ideas for other policies they could put in place, people they could talk to, committees that they could throw together to help demonstrate that this wouldn't be a problem moving forward and that they were actively tracking the issue. I didn't have to do that. I could have just said, okay, I'll drop off my keys on Friday or whatever. But I actually like seeing things benefit from my presence, and clearly I wasn't doing that through my work, so I wanted my exit to at least be that way. I was thinking about quitting the job anyway. I was not thinking. I was agonizing over whether I should quit or not. So that was nice. But now I have been looking for work, and it feels like, I mean, it's pulling teeth. It's agonizing, and every time I have someone that's potentially interested, I have the thought, am I settling for this? Can I find something better? How long do I have to find something better? Can I take this and then leave? If I find something that pays me better or is more convenient or I find more satisfying, because I'm not applying for jobs that I'm like really excited about. You know, this isn't shit that I'm living for. This is shit that pays the bills or, you know, fits my lifestyle more than stuff I actually care about. Stuff I care about is not accessible. It's not available. I can't work in game design. I can't work in history. I can't teach. I can't, you know, work in any of these fields I actually care about because they're all either minimum wage positions, which would not pay rent in a livable way for me, or they're volunteer positions, or they require so much experience in these volunteer and minimum wage positions that I haven't had with those specific industries, so I can't demonstrate you know, experience or expertise. It's just inaccessible. I have a degree. I went to school. That doesn't matter. So did everybody else. It's it's a worthless thing. So it really is picking the lesser evil at this point is where I'm at with work. And that's an awful feeling. So don't make decisions when you're sad. I don't feel like there's an alternative. For me right now, I don't feel like there's an alternative. Every time I get to the point where I need to decide if I actually want to go forward with an interview or, you know, want to apply to this specific thing, or anytime it passes into the realm of being real, I freeze. I freeze and I have anxiety and fear wash over me and sit in my fucking stomach. Is this something I want? Do I really want to put myself through this? Maybe I can find something better. Is this really the best I can do? I don't really want this. I don't really want any of this. Why am I doing this? I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to deal with this right now. I don't want to think about this right now. I can't handle this right now. And the idea behind don't make decisions when you're sad or angry or anything like that, you're supposed to sleep on it. Give it a few days and then think about it. Or then come to a decision. There's so much privilege wrapped up in that. I don't have time. I'm overdue. I'm definitely gonna have trouble paying rent at the end of the month, as is. That sucks, and I'm trying really hard to not fixate and focus on that. Fear isn't a driving factor. My amygdala has been so overstimulated with fear and anxiety that I'm numbing to it. Like, it's not a successful motivator. So like this idea, well, you got to do it. You got to be responsible. You got to do it, Alex, isn't working. And that motivator for me hasn't worked ever. Ever. Maybe it's a PTSD thing. Maybe it was because of physical and emotional abuse as a kid. Maybe who fucking knows. But fear is not a helpful motivator for me. It either makes me disengage, if I can disengage from it, freeze, and just try to wait it out if I can't disengage from it, or address it if I can't wait it, and I can't disengage with it. But this is an issue where I can always say, like, oh, I'll do X, Y, or Z tomorrow. I'll respond to them tomorrow. I'll lower my standards tomorrow for what I'm applying for, what I'm looking for, or I'll call back the X, Y, or Z, or I'll reach out to these people, or I'll whatever else. And like, I've had a couple of friends who live in the area be very helpful in being like, hey, I know this isn't what you're looking for, but I think you'd be a good fit for X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, thank you, but I don't want to accept that because I'm not there. And I don't want to accept it because if I take a job that somebody else recommends me for, or shows me, and I'm miserable in it, then that impacts my relationship with that person. And I don't want that kind of accountability. I was just sitting here talking to a friend online who's also having a hard time. I mean, the friend lives 15 minutes away, but we're millennials. And I had been thinking as I woke up today. I haven't been talking enough lately. I have a lot of things I should be writing or recording, and I'm just not doing it. What I'm doing is I'm freezing, and I'm waiting, and I'm letting time pass, and I'm trying to do that as efficiently and with as little energy as possible, trying to outweight something that's only getting worse with time. It's irrational, but, most coping mechanisms are. And my friend and I were talking about holding space, or what do you do when, you're not doing okay and somebody you care about is also not doing okay, and how frustrating it is when, you love someone and they're struggling and you're struggling too, and you both kind of need someone to be there for you, but you can't be that for the other person, or it's hard to be that for the other person because of your bandwidth or your spoons, or whatever aphorism we want to use here. And when I was younger, it felt so much easier to be there for people emotionally, to support people, to always to feel capable of the commitment of always being loving and supporting and being vulnerable and open. But my last long-term relationship was marred with the effects of stress onto people pushing each other away in different ways in a negative feedback loop or positive feedback loop that led to serious degradation and decay in that connection and the ability to make and establish and maintain that connection. None of us are ever in a perfect place, right? There's never a perfect time for feeling shitty. And there's never really a perfect time for someone we care about to feel shitty. Now, if someone has a problem, being there for that person, you gotta put your own shit aside. And that's really difficult when, with anxiety or fear or exhaustion, you're very emotionally connected to and tied to what you're dealing with and what you're doing, what you're thinking about. Sometimes it's really hard. It can feel impossible to put things aside and just hold space with and for somebody else. But it's a decision. And it's kind of the same way with the exhaustive depression that I've been wrestling with for the last month. You know, I finally did dishes after a month. I went grocery shopping twice in the last month, and I desperately need to go again. I haven't done laundry that entire time. It's been piling up, and it's bad. Like, I'm not sleeping on my bed. I'm sleeping on my fucking couch because I have dirty clothes. They're just making their way onto the bed. Also, the couch is, I don't know, more comfortable. It's less comfortable than the bed, but I don't know. It's some neurodivergent bullshit, I guess. Like, something about sleeping on the couch is more comforting than sleeping in the bed. I don't know what. It could be that it reminds me of being younger and sleeping on friends' couches. It could be me liking the couch because it's a smaller space and I'm less aware of being alone in the bed. It could be that there's a larger ceiling in the living room, so it feels less claustrophobic. It's a better lit room. There's more natural light. It could be that a million, 1,000 different things. I'm not sure what it is, but something is leading me to just crash on the couch. Where do you start addressing? Yeah, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time, right? But how do you take that first bite? Just do it, right? But the how do you eat an elephant is such a ridiculous idea, right? You don't eat a fucking elephant. You share it. Ultimately, if we're talking about a fucking mammoth, like, one person doesn't eat a mammoth alone. You share it. We were able to take down these massive and dangerous creatures because we worked together. We created tools and we coordinated the use of those tools with one another to accomplish things that we couldn't accomplish alone. And I'm feeling incredibly alone. I have people who I know care about me a lot, but I don't know what they can do to help me. I don't know what tools they have available to them that they can use to help me develop tools or get in a position where I can better help myself and other people. I don't know how to crowdsource this problem. I don't know how to share this problem. I don't know how to ask for help because I don't know what help I'm asking for. I know I need help. I know I'm in a position where, like, doing the same thing over and over and over is clearly not working. But, like, what can you do differently? What can I do differently? It's hard to gauge and hard to imagine when you're stuck in one vantage point, especially a viewpoint and a lens that's so inundated with the emotional consequences of the position that I'm in that make it really hard to be productive, and really hard to not slip into despair and frustration and, whatever else. It's like doing dishes after you put them off for a long time and they piled up in the sink. Like, where do you start? You turn on the water, waiting for it to get hot, but there's so much stuff in the sink that the water starts filling up the sink. So you have to unclog the sink, but to unclog the sink, you have to get everything out of the sink. Where do you put everything that's in the sink now? The stovetop is covered with other things you need to do. The kitchen counters are covered. So you give up. You do it later. This is a problem. Next step is this. Next step is this. Okay, we're 3 steps down. I can't even start. Fuck it, I give up. You have to work the problem down to its fucking root. Like, okay, I need the sink unjammed or cleared, so I have to get everything out of here. So to do that, I'm gonna have to, clear off this table. To do that, I need to put the stuff in it away. Okay, do that, I need to clean up, and do that, I need to take the trash out, and to do that, I have to get changed, take a shower, put shoes on, find my keys. Okay, So this one thing, doing the dishes, that should feel like, okay, I can just snap, do this right now, is actually emblematic and symptomatic of a cascade of failures, a cascade of problems, a cascade of obstacles that you need to address. Things are so rarely as simple as just doing them. It's just making it happen. There's so much logistical work to be done when things get backed up. That's the real fucking kicker of depression. Yeah, I mean, you don't take care of yourself, so you have a shorter life expectancy. It's harder to maintain relationships, so you have a shorter life expectancy. Your physical and mental health can suffer, but also, like, your environment suffers as a consequence. And that environmental degradation contributes to and feeds into the stressors that are leading to this behavior in the first place. And, you know, I can have a good day. I can have a good week where I clean everything in my apartment, I do laundry, I go grocery shopping, I get everything done. But then I have to do it again, and again, and again, and again, and I have to keep having a good day. I have to keep having good day after good day after good day after good day after good week after good week after good week after good month after good month. And if it stops, if I have a bad week, I have to have a really fucking good week to pull myself out of that. I can slow the rate of decay, right? I can be like, oh, well, I stopped doing dishes last week, but I don't have time to do those dishes, but I can do the dishes I'm dirtying now, and so this is just a small problem that I'll put off until later. It fucking builds up, and God, it's so agonizing living in scheduled, ritualized patterns. It's the way our society is designed to work, our 9 to 5, our daily and weekly schedule is designed to be so fucking cyclical and so repetitive for a lot of reasons. But if that cycle doesn't work for you, if that cycle is obstructive and destructive and degradative, degenerating, causes degeneration, whatever. I don't know, man. Like, it can feel... I have an internalized critic all the time. So I'm saying this, I'm like, well, you just need to try harder. You just need to, fucking do it. Just do it. Quit making excuses and just do better. Man, I fucking wish. I wish. This quit making excuses and do better thing is something, we hear a lot, and it's mostly from people who are emotionally disconnected with us and the problem and don't want to engage with it because they have problems of their own that they're trying to either deal with or not engage with, that they're not doing what I talked about earlier and putting their own shit aside to be emotionally vulnerable and to hold space with you and to actually recognize and tease apart and work through these problems. They're people who don't want the problems to be problems. It's really hard to let myself feel sometimes. Let myself be okay with feeling shitty and not criticize myself into oblivion for it. Because I have internalized, my dad just being a disconnected, frustrated person observing me as a kid, just being like, just do it, Alex. Quit half-assing things. Just, do what I say. and not caring about details or explanations, and not being interested in that at all. And I have internalized things that my mom would say because she was so tired and burnt out and just pushing herself to try to make sure the rest of us survived. You know, when I was a kid, and even in being a teenager, if I was dealing with something that hurt, that was frustrating, that I was really struggling with, and wasn't fair, you know, anytime I quit saying that's not fair or thing is not fair to my mom, because she would quote back to me from Lion King, "Life's not fair." It just made me want to fucking... It makes me still want to just scream and pull my fucking hair out and just, like... ripping of clothes, gnashing of teeth kind of feeling. Like... it isn't fair. Life is not fair. But... it could be more fair. And it should be more fair. And our tendency to dismiss problems, personal, interpersonal, emotional, institutional, societal, political, because it's just broken. It's not fair. It's how it is. Yeah, you just have to deal with it. Yeah, it sucks. That is an inadequate response. I don't know, this wasn't really leading anywhere particular. There wasn't some specific point I wanted to get to. Just to kind of wander there. See where it got me. I'm tired. I'm fucking sweaty. It's so fucking hot in my apartment. I don't know why. It's like staying at like 75 in here, even though it's been like 60s in Seattle this whole week. Now I haven't opened my windows because the air quality's been shitty, so it's just kind of the same stuffy air, and I have the air conditioner on, but it's just not working well enough, and I've just been so goddamn uncomfortable, and I'm running out of clothes that I actually want to wear. I'm running out of clothes. I need to do laundry. But I don't want to do it, but I feel gross, so I think I'm gonna finish this orange juice. I'm gonna turn on the AC, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna get changed. And, you know, I'm gonna try to motivate myself to do laundry, but it's like 10:30 at night. It feels like such a bad time to do it. And there's fucking texts and emails I need to respond to from people who've reached out to me about some position or another. I don't fucking know. But, like, I'm getting a fear response anytime I even, like, look at my phone right now. Like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'm afraid of that thing right now. So, I don't know. I'd like to get something done. What's probably going to happen is I put on something to distract myself. I play a game. I read something. I disassociate. I do something to try and disconnect, because I am so fucking discontented, unhappy, dissatisfied, uncomfortable, and I'm failing to believe that things can get better. But I can at least not feel gross. So I'm gonna go do that. I don't know when I'll stream or record or whatever else next. Empire at War, I have been having fun with. I don't want to keep playing with Cruel AI on. It just cheats too much. It's obscene. It really did feel like just repeating the same task over and over because it worked and it was losing the satisfaction of accomplishing that task. So I'm not really interested in playing that. I've been playing Total War Warhammer 3 quite a bit because Immortal Empires came out. I don't want to stream or record that because, you know, sometimes I just want to auto-resolve things. Sometimes I really want to get in and play, like, battles. But Total War is a series, it's just missing some je ne sais quoi for me. Just something about it is dissatisfying. There's some Humankind stuff I want to work on. I uploaded the recent iteration of my map, but, like, I haven't playtested it. Because every time I've tried playtesting, I've been playtesting with other mods, and it's been crashing, and I can't tell if that's because my map, which it doesn't seem right to me, could be, but, like, seems wild that I can make a map with something in it that would crash the game. That seems wrong, so it must be the other mods, but I don't really want to just play through it. I should probably just fucking play through it to playtest and make sure everything's loading correctly and looks right, but, like, I don't want to... I should be working on my other mods. God knows I have enough comments on them. But no, none of that sounds appealing. So I'd like to be making content. I'd like to not just be like having lonely fun, but lonely fun is the only thing that's even vaguely clicking, and honestly, it's not really clicking that much right now. So I don't know what else to do. What a terrible point to end on. But I'm gonna end on it. Until later, whenever the fuck that's gonna be. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.